Hello, I'm Dawn Durham, and welcome to PaTTANpod. While attending the Community on Transition conference, we were hearing all this hype about technology. So we decided to catch up with Kathryn Helland from Temple University's Institute on Disabilities to figure out how we can harness this technology to help us with secondary transition planning. Thanks, Kathryn, for being with PaTTANpod today.
I'm so happy to be here today.
So let's talk about some of the hurdles that youth face or young adults face when they're moving into post-high school. What are they coming across?
Well, there's a huge hurdle in moving from services that they are just eligible for or services that they get, as a matter of fact, because they're in the school system, to services where there might be a wait list, there might be a limit in funding, there might not be enough people to advise them about what their rights are or where to go to seek out the finances or the coverage for the services that they need. So it can feel sometimes a little bit like falling off a cliff, moving from entitlement to eligibility.
And so when we think about secondary transition planning and how assistive technology can be used to help us on that path, what are some new ways in which we can be thinking about how to utilize that technology?
Well, the thing that I always come back to is that we're all walking around now with smartphones in our pockets that have more computing power than men took to the moon 50 years ago this summer.
Gosh.
And when we have that technology in our pockets, and it's not something that you had to go to insurance to get or had to get a grant to get, it's just consumer electronics. And there are so many tools built into our smart technology that can be of support to students in transition.
So I'm holding right now with me a device that can assist a young adult in moving forward with post-high school career path or education.
Absolutely, depending upon that adult's needs. For instance, there's GPS in all of our devices. And for an adult with an intellectual disability who really, the goal should be that they can be as independent as they possibly can be. And they can use that GPS and create a map that allows them to independently transit to their workplace, to know when their bus is going to arrive, to know which bus to get on and where to get off. They can watch the map, so they've got visual and auditory and written cues that can help them navigate the community.
So what we would consider to be everyday devices, this can be a life-saving tool for someone.
Absolutely, absolutely. There are ways in which it can be a vital tool. And I think back to, on Twitter, I follow a lot of advocates in the autism community.
Okay.
And one of the things that they tell me about with their iPads or their smartphones is that they can use them for augmentative and alternative communication, AAC. And for someone with autism, they might not have access to their voice in all contexts. So. For instance, they might talk just fine and feel really comfortable talking when they're with friends or with family, but they go to a cafe, they go to a restaurant, they go to a store, and maybe they just don't have those resources to be able to use their voice. And here they have a tool that they can use and still communicate, order their latte, talk to people, shoot the breeze. So that's another powerful way it can be used.
So I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, well, this seems so obvious, right? But it's not necessarily so obvious because you have to rethink your everyday objects around you and how those can be best utilized.
And these days, in the past decade, there's been more and more of a blurring of lines between specialized technology, what we would always call assistive technology that you got through an insurance process or your school district paid for, and consumer electronics. So now we can go into a Best Buy, we can buy a phone, we can download a communication app to that phone, but we can also get an Alexa. And if I'm someone who has a complex body and I'm in a wheelchair and I need AAC, I can use consumer electronics to send an email or send a text message or notify family members if I'm hurt and I need help. Or with other smart home technology included, you can use that to set the temperature or raise and lower your shades or turn on your lights or just have a dance party. So, you know, there's so much that you can do that is just technology and isn't necessarily in a box called assistive technology any longer.
So we really need to stop thinking about things in isolation in a box and just as
Really,
technology. If it helps you, it helps all of us.
And that's true with so many things. When we make something more accessible, it's better for everyone. It doesn't just help that particular person who has a disability.
Sure.
It really helps us all.
So now you're saying some things and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm starting to kind of brainstorm some more ideas of just what I have in my own home or my own office of what could be helpful and useful. Where would I go if I'm a parent, a young adult, a teacher? Where would I go to find out all of the options that I could potentially give to a young adult and how to utilize them for the services they need?
There are so many websites and resources on there, and one in particular, I mean, PaTTAN has some wonderful resources on their website for teaching and training with tech, but we at TechOWL, we have 2 sister websites.
Okay.
So one of them is called TechOWLPA.org, and that website is the portal to our lending library. So TechOWL, one of our programs is the AT Act program for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And people can go onto the TechOWL PA website, they can create a digital library card, they can borrow equipment. So if somebody is thinking, I'm coming up on transition, I might be heading to college, I might be heading to technical school, I might be heading into the workforce. Wow, that technology sounds like it might be helpful to me, but I don't want to spend $500 before I know if it's going to work. So you can borrow, and we say try before you buy. And there are so many other resources on TechOWL PA. So you can look at how technology can assist you with all different aspects of daily life, not just work, not just school. It's also about being social and participating in the community. So that's really exciting.
It is very exciting to know that we have devices out there that can make someone, a group of people, all of us, feel more comfortable and more confident to be able to engage in the world.
And for some of those devices that can be really expensive and do have to go through an insurance process, what happens when that person's needs change or somebody passes away? What happens to all of that equipment? Our website also houses our reused and exchanged equipment program. So functions a little bit like a Craigslist in that you don't know, from week to week what's going to be posted there, but you can check the website. So if you need could be anything from a walker to powered mobility to a speech generating device. Depends upon the week. You can check the website and maybe the tool you need is out there. And maybe it's free or maybe it's lower cost. And you can bypass that whole going to an insurance report type of process.
Now, we talked about how you can find the equipment or the devices, but how or who do I go to if I'm not sure what we're looking at? If I'm a parent, I'm saying, ooh, I'm not really sure where I should be looking to help my child.
Well, that's one thing we do at TechOWL is we provide a lot of information and assistance. So our new website, and it's just almost a year old, so we're still really in a honeymoon phase where we're just in love with the fact that we have this website that we can use to help people now. It has a chat function. So if you log on during business hours, you can go to the chat function and ask a question. All of us who are in the office monitor that chat. And that means that when somebody dings and comes up with a chat, we can pass that call or that chat to whoever's going to be the best person to answer that question. So we have experts on AAC, we have experts on low vision, we have experts on computer access, and we really collaborate with each other to try and creatively solve problems for people. So people are always welcome to contact us, and they can call too. On the website is each person's contact information. So if a chat isn't going to do you can just call us and ask us questions, and we'll try to brainstorm with you.
So you're really right there to help everyone out. That's the goal.
Try.
To be there to be as visible and as active, as engaged in your learning, so that we can move forward and help you get the service and the devices and the equipment that you may need.
And I think by having the websites that we have and also engaging in social media, we're using platforms that aren't scary, that people know about, that people feel comfortable with engaging with. So you can also follow us on social media and look at what we post. We've got a coordinator who posts on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook. And so there are other ways too to keep up with what we're doing and what we're talking about.
That's wonderful to know that we can reach out to you all so easily. And PaTTAN is certainly a place that you can reach out to. Your local intermediate units is also a place to reach out to. But it's nice to know that there's a network not just one source, because that one source may need to say, hey, well, let me get someone who knows a little bit more about this particular concern or question that you may have. So the fact that we can all network together and provide what everyone needs is helpful.
And I think we find as organizations that we're referring to each other. So if we get a question about services for a school-age child and they want to borrow equipment, I'm not only going to tell them about TechOWL PA and our lending library, I'm also going to say, hey, there's PaTTAN out there, and they have short-term loans, and your teacher or your therapist can access that. But they also have Power AAC. They also have training modules that will help your classroom to immerse that student in their new language and allow them to be successful. So
working together and collaboratively really is helping out our students, our families, our community in a large. I appreciate that.
Yeah, we can't be siloed, just in each of our own worlds. We need to work together.
Because as you said, what helps one person doesn't just help one group of people, it helps all of us. When we make something accessible, it's better for all of us, and that's really what we're looking for. Right, to make it all more accessible. We know that
the ADA is almost 30 years old, and I remember all the arguments about, oh, if we have to put in curb cuts, it's going to be bad for small businesses. People are going to lose their jobs. And now you think about that, I mean, that's the usual example, curb cuts. Who uses curb cuts?
Everybody.
Everybody.
Everyone
with wheelchairs, bicycles, strollers, canes.
Someone who just needs a little help walking.
Yep.
Just no big deal.
We use those curb cuts. So
that's a good example.
Accessibility really is a net win for everybody.
Yeah, it's a good example. Let me ask you this, and we ask this of all of our guests on PaTTAnpod. You know, we really want people out there who are viewing this episode to say, maybe I need that to grow a little professionally in that area. There's an area in which I need to strengthen my own knowledge. What advice would you offer to those listening and viewing this episode in regards to growing themselves professionally?
I would absolutely take some advantage of social media. So for instance, on Twitter, during the school year, there's an AT chat that happens every Wednesday evening. And it's a great opportunity for professionals from across the country to share ideas and ask questions. So, hey, I've got a student who needs, has this access need? Has anybody dealt with this before? So that's sort of an informal network of people who can be a great resource for learning. But then there are always so many great conferences and trainings. And these days, what happens to trainings, they get recorded and they get put on YouTube or they get put on some other platform. So there's a lot that you can check out that's just there on the internet for free. And one example is the AAC in the Cloud Conference, which just happened at the end of June. And that was the 3rd year in a row. And those sessions live on the web. We know what enters the internet never leaves, it stays there. But you've got a lot of stuff out there that people may or may not know about, but if you search for it, you can find some of the top people in the field talking and helping.
So stay connected. Stay
connected. Absolutely.
That's going to be the best advice. I think that's wonderful advice for all of us in all areas.
And don't be afraid to pick up the phone and call.
Wonderful.
Because if I can't answer the question, I'll find somebody in my office who can, or we'll do the research and we'll reach back out to you and try and answer it.
I'm sure a lot of people appreciate knowing that they have a go-to. Someone to help them in this process, in this path. Yes, I appreciate that. And thank you so much, Kathryn, for stopping by PaTTAnpod today to talk about how we can utilize assistive technology and all technology to give more engagement and more activity in our life. So thank you so much for that. We appreciate it.
Yeah, everyone really just, you have to learn about the power of what you have in your back pocket and how much your phone can do for you and beyond. So thank you for the opportunity to stop by.
Thanks. Hopefully we'll have you again. It would be wonderful for you to visit us again.
Yes.
Thank you to all of you in the field. You inspire educational growth in your students every day. A special thank you to John Ragsdale for producing this podcast. We'll see you next time on PaTTAnpod.